guys, it's been a while since I've just done a video sitting down, talking to you and answering some of your questions, especially questions related to my career outside of YouTube. It's quite funny because when I was in university I shared a lot of my experience learning game development and my aspirations for what I wanted beyond university, and now 2 years have passed? Maybe, no, just over 2 years, Jesus. I haven't actually been talking to you about where that journey has led me. I will explain more at the end of the video why that is, but I decided that today should be the day that I break that cycle and I talk to you about where I am now, how I got my job in the games industry, because I managed to do it. I love this to be a creative platform for me, but at the same time I also want it to be an inspirational platform for you, to give you insights into how to reach your own dreams. And if I can share my own journey and it can help you, that's what this channel is all about. So let's dig into some of your questions. First of all is a person called Dom on Instagram, d.nrg92, and they asked me a bunch of questions, but I think it'll be a good starting place. What kind of education did you have for your job? What did you study? So I studied computer games arts, which actually isn't what I'm doing in the games industry, but it allowed me the time, the freedom, the knowledge to understand what I enjoyed within the industry itself. I thought I would enjoy the art aspect of it more, but I didn't. I enjoyed design, I enjoyed prototyping. So even though maybe you're doing a course that you realize halfway through, oh, I don't want to be this, if you're still getting a chance to dip your toes into that field and make games, don't worry too much. People aren't going to look at your degree and say, well, you're applying for this job, but I see that your degree is in art. As long as you can back it up with something in your portfolio. After university, I did carry on with our third year game, making it as good as I could be, so I could use that for a portfolio piece. And they also asked, how quickly after education did you land your first job? And I was extremely lucky. I managed to land a job, I think it was 4 or 5 months. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I think it was around about 6 months actually, because it started just after Christmas and I finished university in the summer. I got rejected quite a few times, and quite a few times I didn't even hear back from job applications. It's okay, it happens. Just keep going for it, you'll find something. They also asked, in general, are there any wise words or advice about getting into the industry? Hi. Okay, so how long have you been working in the game industry? I will say what helped me to get into the industry was definitely going to gaming events, which I know is extremely hard now. However, there are online events, there are things on Zoom and all these types of stuff that you can actually get involved with, and Discord channels, and just trying to communicate with people who are in the industry or even who are indie developers. Gaining those people who are already in the field that you want to work in is extremely helpful. A lot of the times it really is being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people. I was lucky, I went to EGX and I remember I actually filmed a couple of videos interviewing people in the industry. I don't think this led to me getting the job, but just the fact that I already had interviewed people in the industry meant that a few people in the industry were getting to know my face. So perhaps it helped me in the interview process. I don't know for sure. Do not give up. I got rejected quite a few times and it took me a day to make and send out each application because I wanted to make it personalized to the job that I was applying for. So I would make sure that my cover letter said things about the company that I was applying for. I explained why I wanted to work with them, as well as why I thought I'd be a good fit for the role. You really want to let the company know that this isn't just a copy and paste application. You are actually enthusiastic about the job. It made things a lot harder. It's a lot of energy to apply for jobs in that way, but it worked. I really believe it worked. Okay, let's answer some questions from other people now. Ooh. Oh my gosh, this is a great question, and why didn't I open with this one? Virtual Turtle Games asks, what do you do at your current job and how do you like it so far? I am a associate technical designer, which I did not even know existed until I got this job. There are so many different niches of game design and it's really hard to even know all the different types that exist because I'm pretty sure there's just new ones being made up in studios. And that's because games are extremely unique. Games need different specialisms because of their certain styles, their genres. You might want mission designers, you might need narrative designers, but technical designers, I would say, are always actually needed, but they just do slightly different things in each studio, which is the same in any game design case. But what I do, I like to explain it as bridging the gap between programming and game design itself. I can look at a feature within a game and know what is needed to get that to work performantly, but also to keep to the designer's vision. So I can prototype things, but I also can keep in mind how the game is set up technologically. I've got to have a really good understanding of the structure of the game and how it's put together via the code. That doesn't mean that I do code, because I actually don't. I visual script, but that's not the same as going in doing C++. But I got to understand how it's all put together so that when people have their ideas that they want to put into the game, I can think technically, okay, what is available for us? How can this become a new part of the game? Is it going to affect anything? Is it going to have negative impact on performance? How many different disciplines need to be involved in that new thing? I have to kind of just, I guess, be on top of everything if I can. And it's a real challenge, but I love it. You know me, I like to wear a lot of different hats. I like to dip my toes into many different fields, and this design role, especially the technical design role, gives me that exactly. Because it's not just about being creative and coming up with ideas, it's about turning those ideas into something tangible and something that works in the overall vision of the game and works performantly and nicely and cleanly. I actually really like it. Turns out I'm quite a logical thinker, so it's a nice role for me. I do enjoy it. Carlos Rodriguez. How do you keep track on a game dev project? I would think you use some tool like Trello, and also, when do you know the game is finished? It seems to me that even though we have a scope, there are some things art related that could always be improved. No, not just art related. There are some things in every single discipline that could be improved. I, luckily, am not a producer. So if you're working in a big studio, you'll have producers that keep on top of all of that kind of stuff. But from what I know, from when I made Perfection anyway, I did take up the role of producer then, and a lot of it was spreadsheets and having small deadlines for different aspects of the game. Each small job was allocated to a different person in the team, making sure no one was too overloaded with work, checking in regularly with your team, seeing if they are on track, and if they're not, seeing what you can do to help them get on track. It's not about getting annoyed that someone isn't meeting their deadlines. Sometimes these things happen, especially if you're working in games. Working in the video game industry, you're usually learning all the time, trying to understand new systems, new parts of the game engine that you're using. You can severely underestimate or overestimate sometimes, so these things happen. But yeah, Trello boards were good when I was doing Perfection. Honestly, the spreadsheet just kept me sane. Just having a spreadsheet that you could always refer to. But luckily in my day-to-day job, I don't have to worry about that. I have my tasks assigned to me. I know how much time I've got to do them. I usually wake up in the morning and I write myself a to-do list for that day. And I try and get everything on that to-do list done for that day. Oh, and how do you know a game is finished? I thought I was done with that question, but no, it's the hardest part of it. You don't, and this is not just with games, this is with anything creative. You're never finished with anything that you create. It's never going to be as good as what you imagined it being in your head, and if you stick to that way of thinking, you're always going to be disappointed. One thing that I heard, I think it was from like John and Hank Green, they said always aim for 80% instead of 100. And I still stick by that. I think that's great advice, because if you always strive for 100, you're never going to reach it. And a finished project is so much better than a perfect project that never sees the light of day. And once you get one project done, then you've learned so much during that process, and you can create a new project with that new knowledge in mind, and probably make something even better. Set yourself a deadline and make sure that the main pillars of your project are there. Does it run from start to finish? Does it have the feel that you want? Does it convey the message that you want? Are there any major aspects that are missing? Just make sure that you have had as many people playtest as possible to find any major bugs and major breakages. And as long as you're happy with it, you'll know whether you think it's finished or not. And the good thing about a game that is different to doing a video or anything like that is that you can still keep updating it once you've launched it. You can have patches and updates. Don't hate me for saying that, but it's true. We don't try to release unfinished things. Just sometimes they're not as good as we wanted them to be, but we want you to play them. Okay, I'm sorry, Cyberpunk, okay. Okay, so that's all the questions that I had regarding my day-to-day job. I can't go into it in detail because the game that I'm working on hasn't been announced yet, so I can't talk about that. I can say that my experience in the industry so far has been an extremely positive one. I am surrounded by people who hold me up. They're also the biggest kids ever, which I absolutely adore. As soon as I got my job, I was pinching myself that I could be sat with people in a pub talking about video games in a very enthusiastic way. It's so freaking cool to know that you can talk about games and playing and get paid for it. It just doesn't seem real, and you're kind of like, am I cheating life right now? I'm not going to say it's all good. There are certain aspects that are pretty hard. I mean, the job itself is really hard. There's so much to learn. It's extremely overwhelming sometimes. Luckily, the people that I work with, they're all very happy to learn and also teach. So if you have questions, they will answer them. Actually, that is my biggest advice. Just always ask questions. I ask questions in work all the time, and sometimes I do probably come across as a little bit dim, or I think that I do anyway, but I ask regardless of how I feel, regardless of if I feel dumb or whatever, because at the end of the day, I want to know. I'm here to learn as well as to work. Always, always, always ask questions, stay curious, don't beat yourself up. But saying that, it is very hard. It's hard not to have major imposter syndrome in this industry. It's a fantasy job. Maybe you will feel like you don't deserve to be here. And I know I have been struggling with that for quite a while since I got here. Should I actually be here? I don't know, C++. Maybe I'm not smart enough. You're talking to all these really intelligent people. But at the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm doing something right. And I've been scared to talk about it on YouTube because honestly, I'm scared that if I give any design tips or any kind of how-tos in the game industry, I'll say something wrong and then I'll be called out as a fraud. It's literally just the imposter syndrome that's been keeping me away. So I've been sharing different types of videos with you and my creations, which will never stop. I will always make music videos and things like that. But I do want to share my knowledge with you in the video game industry. I can't share things that I'm doing on my day-to-day job, but making a cinematic in Unreal Engine, stuff like that, if I could show you what I'm learning about Unreal Engine, or even just the design process and the mindset of a game designer and how I'm learning that, it could be good. It's just I've just been so scared Yeah, that's stupid. It's all in my head and I'm having a wonderful time. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. And if I could help other people, I really want to. So if you'd like me to go into any more detail on to how I got my job, perhaps how I lay out my CV, cover letter, tutorials on game design or anything like that, let me know as well. If you're not really that interested, then that's fine too. I can keep this just a creative channel. But anyway, yeah, that's my rant, and that's why I haven't done any Q&As. It's like I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to make a video and say, okay, I'm in the industry and then suddenly lose my job or something and then be like, oh, oops. But yeah, I think I'm safe enough after 2 years to say, yeah. And I feel more confident to be able to share what I've learned with you all. So I hope you enjoy that. I'm just going to answer some quick questions that weren't necessarily about my day-to-day job. Edward Westmoreland Cornter said, as someone whose head is always bursting with ideas, how do you keep track of all your plans and imaginings without losing focus of what you're working on in the present? That I struggle with so much, and maybe I should do a whole video on that. But what I do is I have a Discord and I actually have channels that are privated just for me, and I write down all of my ideas. Podcast ideas, music ideas, video ideas, game ideas. I just make sure they're all in one place. Every month I go onto Google Calendar and I plan out my month, and I might not stick to it. I mean, usually, honestly, I don't stick to it, but it makes me realize, okay, what do I want to achieve this month? And then I make a rough plan of how I'm going to achieve that. And that's how I stay in the present on what I'm working on, because it's there in my calendar. I'm getting notifications about it, and I know that I have to finish this project to then be able to move on to future projects. Discipline. Learn it. Learn to discipline. Ashley Edwards says, what keeps you motivated and how do you combat periods where you don't feel motivated at all? And this is a very good question, especially in 2020. Honestly, I think this year has given us time to get to know ourselves, to reflect on what makes us happy, what doesn't, what we miss, what we don't so much miss. For some people, they've been thriving and good on them, but I think a lot of people have felt pretty unmotivated this year because of the amount of worrying they've been doing, and that makes us all very tired. Very understandable. And I definitely have gone through that as well this year. So what did I do to combat periods where I didn't feel motivated? I didn't do anything. I found things that I loved, and I found things that rejuvenated my sense of wonder and my sense of creativity without even really meaning to. If you try too hard, then you'll just stay in burnout. So I think just being able to say, okay, this year has been crap, or, I'm not in a good mood. You don't even need to have a reason. Sometimes I am not in a good mood for no reason. But the more that I fight that and I say, no, I don't want to be in a bad mood, I want to be motivated, I want to be happy and blah, 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 the less I will become happy and become motivated. If I say to myself, okay, I acknowledge I am in this headspace, I need rest, or I just need to be kind to myself right now, I come out of it so much quicker. So for me personally, it was Witcher 3 and reading books and going for more walks and doing nothing creative while I worked that out in myself. I love Witcher 3. I think that made my whole year so much better. I love that game. Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, I have some questions about my music, but I think perhaps that should be a separate Q&A. So also comment down below, do you want a music Q&A? I feel like whenever I sit down and do talky videos, it just goes off topic. I'm so sorry. Jonathan says, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time professionally? I'd like to see what sort of work and hobby-related projects you'd like to achieve in that time. I'm not very good at planning for the future. I mean, personally, on a personal level, I'd love to have my own place that is purely mine. That would be a step in the right direction. But work-related, I'd love to move towards doing something more narrative focused. I'd love to have learnt C++ by then, hopefully. I know I'm never going to be an amazing programmer because personally that's not where my interests lie. However, I understand I need to know programming to create the kind of interactive experiences that I want to make. And yeah, I'd love to find a role that incorporates more narrative in it. I would love to be like a narrative technical designer. If that is a thing, I'd love to be someone who thinks about the way that the world interacts with the player and the player might interact with the world. So not necessarily writing, but more the small things that tell a story within the universe without even having to have dialogue or written word. There's got to be something like that in the games industry. Like someone who builds upon the world in a technical way that fits with the narrative and the game feel. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? I think it'd be called a narrative tech designer. I think that's a thing. I don't know. And as for hobby related projects, I still want to see if I can update Perfection because I have learned so much and I am very ashamed with the performance of that game. I remember I put a lot of code in the update, which now I am mortified, and I would never do anything in tick or update unless it's absolutely necessary. So, I have a lot of music that I need to record professionally. I'd love to make another EP or album. I have some podcasts that I want to create. I want to start writing again, get back into that narrative mindset, which will help with my career goal. And eventually I'd love to make a sequel to Perfection. Perhaps not Perfection 2, but a game that thinks in the same way as Perfection, a game that lands on social interpretations of ourselves, our sense of self-worth. I love the fact the game got conversations started, and I'd love to make more games like that, but it's just finding the time alongside a full-time job. That's the only issue that I have. Hopefully that has filled you in a bit more. I've tried to fill you in on 2 years of my life in maybe a half an hour video. Woo! So thank you so much for watching all of this. If you've watched till the end, I really appreciate you, and hope you feel like you know me a bit better now. I also just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's been joining me on my Thursday evening live streams. It means so much to me. Talking about motivation, I sometimes do lose motivation and I can't get a video up every week, and it does frustrate me, but I know that I have my weekly live stream to look forward to, and it's always so fun to play horror games, to just sing songs and just chat with you guys live. Like you shove my neck, my back, it really does put a smile on my face no matter what the week has brought, especially in 2020, and I hope it's managed to give you a little bit of fun time during the week as well. Those live streams will carry on in the new year. And if you would like me to go into any more detail into what I've spoken about here today, or if you'd like to see more about my music projects instead of my game dev stuff, then do let me know in the comments down below. Have a lovely day or evening, and a brilliant Christmas if I don't see you before. Oh wait, if you don't celebrate Christmas, then have a brilliant, happy, wonderful holiday. I don't know. I know times are different. I know it's strange. Whatever. I still hope you have a great day anyway. And I will see you when I see you. Thanks again for all the questions. I keep saying thanks because I've forgotten how to end videos. Okay, bye. Have a lovely day or evening. Bye. Bye, 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 bye. Pew, 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 bye. Is that how I say goodbye? Bye. No.